All right, Jesse on fire. Welcome back to the channel. All right, so here we go. We got Justin Gaethje and Khabib coming up next weekend, and I have not done an official breakdown as of now that we're actually right on top of this fight. And I'm going to tell you right now, I have some new factors that you are not going to hear on other channels because that's what I do. That's what I do, okay? I take the bits and pieces, the human element that other people are not thinking about, not talking about, and I will put them into my analysis. And so I promise you, there's definitely going to be some of that, and probably right on the front end of this video. So if you like the content, subscribe and ring the bell. And let me break this thing down. All right. So here's the first thing that I'm going to say. Okay. And this is as of very recently, like we're talking as of the last couple days. So for those of you who are living under a rock and don't understand the dynamic on Team Khabib and Islam Makhachev could not be closer. They may as well be brothers, okay? So Abdulmanap's vision was for Khabib to retire 30-0, and then Islam Makhachev take the mantle and then become the lightweight champion right after Khabib, and then that would be the ultimate validation of Abdulmanap's coaching, because he's coached Islam since he was a child, just like Khabib, okay? So I bring that up because Rafael dos Anjos has COVID as of 5 days ago and is out of his fight against Islam Makhachev, which puts a lot of color around what Khabib has been doing in the last couple days, right? So now realizing that and then thinking back on what he said about Tony Ferguson, where he said Tony Ferguson's done, he should go fight Islam Makhachev. Okay, he's trying to get Islam Makhachev an opponent, right? Because it's right under the gun, and you know, he wants to make it as meaningful as possible. He thinks Islam Makhachev will beat anybody. I mean, I think he genuinely believes that. And so he's trying to get him the best possible opponent. So he floats Tony. Tony turns it down. But then he made this comment yesterday, and I was like, ooh, man. So there's a component to this thing that Khabib is doing that is very commendable. Like really, really, like, you know, I mean, if you're wired like me, where like the ultimate thing that a person can do to earn praise from me is be thinking about and trying to take care of his boy. You know what I mean? Like, take care of your fucking boy. And that's obviously what Khabib is doing. And so I commend him immensely for that. However, I'm listening to what he's saying because what I'm trying to gauge is where's he at mentally going into this Gaethje fight? You know, where's he really at? And because things change for a fighter, especially between each fight, things change for every fighter, okay? The fight game is just like every other athletic endeavor. The mental game is more than 50%, okay? So you can train as hard as you want. You go in there mentally soft, you're going to lose. I mean, it's as simple as that. And you can, I mean, but at the same time, you know, you can go in there mentally tough, have not trained enough, and you're going to lose also. But you can control how much you train, and you can control your mental to a certain you know, point. But like the reason why I was like the champion at fantasy football always is because I would build my draft around a couple things of how I read how a person, like a specific star that I thought I could get real late, that I thought was going to really overperform, and I would base that on them mentally. You know, like Terrell Owens when he went to the Cincinnati Bengals. I looked, I'm like, where is this guy at mentally? Because like a lot of times big star switches teams and they don't perform very well. And I built my entire draft around him that year because I was like, he's got a lot left in the tank. I was watching him on Twitter. I was watching him in interviews. I was like, he's gonna ball. Like he's gonna ball. And it was all about where's he at mentally. Okay. So that's what I'm doing with Gaethje and Khabib. Okay. Like I'm not going to tell you guys anything new about the dynamic of the fight, with one exception that I'll talk about with Gaethje. Everyone knows that if it stays on the feet, Khabib's in trouble. If it goes to the ground, then Gaethje's in trouble. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I'll put some more color there. So what are we talking about? We're talking about their mental game, right? And this is what Khabib said yesterday, where I was like, ooh, that's not a good comment. Like that is a bad comment for him to have made, in my opinion. Okay. And let me qualify this. Okay. So where should a guy's mental focus be if he's going into a fight with Justin Gaethje, right? He should be giving Justin Gaethje every ounce of respect, right? understanding this is the biggest challenge that I've ever faced. Okay, complacency is your enemy. Complacency is your enemy. I'm not saying that Khabib is complacent. Okay, but you're about to fight Justin Gaethje, who just basically ended Tony Ferguson's career potentially, right? And unless you're not watching his career, no one has ever beat this Justin Gaethje. No one's ever even come in the stratosphere of beating this Justin Gaethje, okay? Justin Gaethje fought completely differently his entire career, intentionally. He was like, I'm going to literally just stand on top of my opponent and just throw bombs until they break, because everyone always breaks. No one's ever not broken, right? And then he lost twice in a row to top 5 opponents, and he was like, oh, okay, so I need to change. I need to use footwork. I need to not get hit. And he's fought 4 times since then. And no one has even heard, actually, Tony Ferguson hit him with that uppercut. But aside from that, no one's hurt him. He's ran through everyone he's fought, including Tony Ferguson. So this particular Justin Gaethje has never lost, okay? Like, Khabib's not fighting the Justin Gaethje that fought Eddie Alvarez or Dustin Poirier. This is an undefeated Dustin Poirier who just took Tony Ferguson, who hadn't lost in 100 years, and beat him so badly he might never be the same. Okay, that's who Khabib's fighting. And what Khabib said that I was like, yeesh, is he was like, Michael Chandler should fight Islam Makhachev, and if he does and he wins, I'll consider him the #1 contender. And I was like, oh man, that is a bad comment, okay? Because what he's trying to drive towards is he's trying to get Islam Makhachev an opponent on Saturday the 24th, okay? Now, what does that comment equate to, right? He's dangling a cookie in front of Michael Chandler, right? Which is, if you beat Islam Makhachev, I'll consider you the #1 contender, meaning I'll fight you next, right? Okay, well, what is that? What is that like? What is that not factoring in, right? That's making an assumption that you're going to beat Justin Gaethje. Okay, that's like that's just a blanket. He made a public announcement that he is taking for granted that he's going to beat Justin Gaethje. Okay, that's what he said. That is what he said. He said to Chael Sonnen, tell the world, if Michael Chandler fights Islam Makhachev and he beats him, I'll consider him the #1 contender. Tell the world. Okay, great. I hear you, dude. And again, let's just say let's look at it one of two ways. If we want to give him the benefit of the doubt, he is solely saying that to try to get Islam Makhachev a fight, right? So if that's what he was doing, 100% retract any concern that I have about his mental space right now. I will retract it all. If purely he's trying to get Islam Makhachev a fight, which I totally understand, and the Michael Chandler one makes perfect sense because he's already trained and he's ready to fight, right? He's already ready to fight. He was going to be the substitute for Justin Gaethje or Khabib if one of them drops out. So it would make perfect sense for him to fight Islam Makhachev, right? But so again, if that's what he's doing, I take it back. If that's not what he's doing, and what he's saying is a representation of how he's actually looking at it, which is, I'm taking for granted that I'm still going to be the champion after Saturday, that's not good, dude. That is not good. He's never beat anyone like Justin Gaethje, okay? He's undefeated. He has run through everyone that he's fought for the most part, okay? He's had fights where he didn't look amazing, okay? Like, you go watch Al Iaquinta fight. Like, he didn't look that good in that fight. Now, he took him on late notice. He probably took for granted that he was going to run through him, and he just didn't fight a very smart fight, especially given that he thought he was fighting Tony Ferguson, then he was going to fight Max Holloway, and then all of a sudden he's fighting Al Iaquinta. I mean, like, it was bizarre. Like, obviously, that was like, it's not, but if that, if that's the Khabib that comes out, he'll lose to Justin Gaethje. Like, that Khabib will lose to Justin Gaethje. Okay? So, what I'm saying is, people, like, everyone's human, okay? Everyone is human. And I think that if the Khabib that went in to fight Conor McGregor fights Justin Gaethje, he'll win. Decisively. He'll win, okay? If a slightly softer Khabib comes in, he'll lose. That's why I'm not even going to talk about the X's and O's, aside from just to mention this, okay? So Justin Gaethje's been talking about his wrestling career, and I heard him say this on Joe Rogan a long time ago, and then he talked about it again this week. The way that Justin Gaethje was an All-American wrestler in college was not because he was a good offensive wrestler. He was the best defensive wrestler, like, ever. Well, I don't know about ever, but, like, his entire skill set, right? Like, I think he got 5th or 6th in the country. He was an All-American. And it was all about not being able to be taken down. Okay, that was his entire game, was just frustrate them and never get taken down. And then when they would get tired, get the takedown or whatever. And think about how, and no one's ever taken him down and held him down in MMA. Never. Okay. Now, I don't think anyone needs a lesson on who's going to have the advantage if it's a stand-up fight. Now, Khabib is not a walkthrough on his feet anymore, but Justin Gaethje for sure will have the advantage there. Okay, for sure. And again, what you're taking for granted if you think that Khabib is going to win is that he's going to be able to do something to Justin Gaethje that no one has ever done before. Now, that's not a bad bet. Okay, that's not a bad bet, because also no one's ever been able to stop Khabib from taking them down and smashing their head in if he tried. Right? The Al Iaquinta fight, he kind of got away from his game plan for whatever reason. But like, if he wants to take you down and smash you up, he's done it successfully. So you literally have these two diametrically opposed things where if Khabib wants to win, he needs to take Justin Gaethje down and smash him, and no one's ever been able to stop him from doing that. If Justin Gaethje wants to win, he needs to not get taken down and not get held down, and no one's ever taken him down or held him down. Okay? That's why this fight is so exciting. It's like, you know, people are like looking past this fight. They're talking about like, oh, well, who's Khabib going to fight next? I'm like, who's going to fight next? Who gives a fuck who he fights next? This is the fight. This is the fight, man. This is the fight. This is the best matchup this is the best matchup ever at lightweight in terms of just two immovable objects. This Justin Gaethje has never lost. This Khabib has never lost. Okay? Now, if you don't, if like you want to argue with me and say that oh no, Justin Gaethje has 2 losses, I'm telling you, your fight IQ is not mine. Okay? I'll be a prick about it. Okay? The Justin Gaethje that's going on Saturday has never lost. And if you can't connect those dots, then your fight IQ, believe me, you're below the conversation that I'm having. All right? Now, most of you guys, of course, are going to understand exactly what I'm saying, which is that he is a completely different fighter now. Completely reformed. Because go watch his old fights, okay? Like, I realized, like, he came in the UFC, won 1 fight, and then he lost 2 in a row, okay? But he fought all of those fights exactly the same as he did when he was in World Series of Fighting, and he fought the same every time. No one fought like Justin Gaethje. That's the whole thing. No one fought like him. Okay? I'm literally just going to lean on you, stand in front of you, and then just let you hit me in the face. I'm going to hit you in the face. Like, no one fought like that. Okay? No one. And he was undefeated. Okay? Until he wasn't. And so it was like, oh, okay, well, I want to be champion now. So I'm not going to be the human highlight reel. I'm not going to be the person who stands in front and just gets punched 1,000 times. So, and since he's made that adjustment, he obliterated 3 guys, right? 3 first-round knockouts, right? What's his name? The tall guy from Texas, then Edson Barbosa, then Cowboy, and then Tony Ferguson, the real test, who hadn't lost in 100 years, and he beat him within an inch of his life. Okay? Tony Ferguson. And now he's fighting Khabib, who's never lost. I mean, Tony Ferguson was as close to never lost as anybody is going to be that, you know, has some losses. That Tony Ferguson had never lost. And he got obliterated. So, I don't know. If you guys were looking for me to tell you who I think is going to win, I don't have any idea who's going to win this fight. I really don't. I thought Justin Gaethje was going to win in February, right? I don't know. You know, Khabib hasn't fought since then, so I don't know. It's not like anything Khabib has done other than I've just been watching Khabib and I've watched his old fights, and it's just like he's imposed his will on Justin Gaethje is still the worst matchup ever for him. And when I said, in all honesty, what it was I was at the time, it was before Justin Gaethje had beat Tony Ferguson, and so I thought I was making a very grandiose claim that if I ended up being right, it would make me look really, really smart, because I was just objectively pointing out that he's the worst matchup ever for Khabib, X's and O's. So when I say I think he's going to beat Khabib, if he actually does it, then I look like a genius, right? But in reality, I never would have given Justin Gaethje over 50% chance to win. But of all the fighters that are going to fight Khabib, he has the best chance. If Conor fights Khabib 10 times, Khabib will win 9 of them, if not 10, right? I mean, he is a tragic matchup for Conor, a catastrophic matchup for Conor. He just is. And now Conor's going to fight Dustin Poirier in January, and then he said he wants to fight Floyd Mayweather next. Wait, so you want to fight Dustin Poirier, then you don't want to fight for the belt next? You want to go fight in boxing? Why? Why would you not want to fight for the title? Anyway, that's a different video. But that's what I got. Subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell. Peace.